point-by-point rebuttal of the Wells report. And the key conclusion from the rebuttal reads as follows. This conclusion ignores the scientific explanation for the drop in PSI, ignores obvious issues concerning gauge inconsistency, and is based on adverse inferences from circumstantial evidence, primarily text sent in October after the Patriots-Jets game, at which footballs were seriously overinflated by the game officials to levels in violation of league rules. The report simply speculates that all the selected texts had to do with improper football deflation after the referee's inspection, although not a single text mentions any such thing. After the NFLPA announced their appeal of Tom Brady's 4-game suspension yesterday, we found out that Roger Goodell will oversee the appeal. Stephen A., it's a revisit, a topic that we talked about earlier today. How do you see this all playing out?
Well, I see a potential reduction in games that as a possibility. It'll either stay at 4 or it'll go at 2. I don't see a complete eradication of the 4-game suspension that Tom Brady had handed down to him. You know, the thing that I find interesting, whether it's Skip or all of these Tom Brady supporters, is, you know, they keep focusing on he is not going for it. He'll fight to the death and blah, blah. Oh, stop, please. Tom Brady's going to fight the fight. In the end, if he has no choice but to stomach a 2-game suspension, what the hell is he going to do? Retire? He ain't going nowhere. He's going to be back playing next season. And whether it's a 4-game suspension, a 2-game suspension, or a 0-game suspension, he is going to sit there and have to accept whatever the ruling is in the end. And unless he retires, which we all know he's not going to do at this juncture, he'll be back. It's not like he's going to sit there and say, well, if they say it's going to be 2 games instead of 4, he's going to say, no, I'm not accepting that, and won't show up. He's going to show up to play, and that's what it is. So we have to keep in perspective what kind of legitimate power he actually has. In the end, the PSIs and the reduction in the football, the deflation, etc., they can make valid arguments. That's their job, to provide a level of plausible deniability. And if it's effective enough, and it may very well work, because this is Roger Goodell in the NFL we're talking about, and they certainly aren't flawless with their investigations. Who knows what could potentially happen? But in the end, having said all of that, the bottom line is that the NFL didn't just suspend him because of the deflated footballs. Part of the suspension contributed to what they termed his lack of cooperation. And because there's a lack of cooperation in their eyes, and that's not something the Patriots are in position to dispute, nor Tom Brady himself, then I still see them coming to the conclusion, best case scenario is that this is your fault, even if the footballs weren't deflated, because you could have helped us better with the investigation and you elected not to. So you deserve a couple of games in our eyes based on that alone. I don't see a complete eradication of this 4-game suspension. A possible reduction, yes, but not a complete eradication.
You're going to be wrong about this.
Okay.
I'm going to predict that at some point, and it may take a while, you're going to have to eat a little public crow over this. I believe these are 2 very proud, very powerful men in Tom Brady and Robert Kraft who have dug in deep on this. They are on a mission. They are not going to back off. The appeals process is just perfunctory. It's just going to, it will happen. Now, maybe, as we debated earlier in the show, I don't know which way Goodell is going to go. Is he going to attack or back off? Maybe he will go out of his way to be overly fair to Tom Brady, to try to reduce some of Brady's anger and resolve in filing a defamation suit against Roger Goodell. That will not work. I don't think it will work to reduce it to 1 game, because 1 game would still mean you're guilty. Tom Brady, I'm going to say it one last time, Tom Brady is telling his confidants, I am 100% innocent. And he is furious over what Roger Goodell has done to his image and reputation. We've talked about it several times on this show. Damaged beyond repair. Permanently stained. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
I just believe it is. I think the Patriots' reputation as the model franchise in the NFL, permanently stained by this. A lot of people will never change their minds. So now you have a Robert Kraft who said at the Super Bowl, he announced, you will owe us an apology, Roger Goodell. and you have a Tom Brady who hired a superstar attorney who's been the biggest thorn in the NFL side, in Jeffrey Kessler, they are prepared to play this out however long it's going to take. They are going to go to court. They will file, after the appeals process, they will file a defamation suit against Roger Goodell, and the first thing they will get, as did Jonathan Vilma, an injunction that will allow Tom Brady to play Game 1 next year. And then we'll see what happens as it plays out in court. I'm telling you, I'm hearing this from insiders. The end game here could be, in their eyes, Goodell's job, because his credibility is back on the line, on the table here. It's up for grabs in their eyes because they think they can shred the Wells report in court if it comes to that. Now, again, we talked about all the downsides of the lawsuit, and those are points well taken, but Tom Brady has carefully weighed his options. Bob Kraft, no dummy here, one of the shrewdest operators in the league, has weighed his options. They are coming after the commissioner. That's the end game here. Just wait and see.
I love how you're talking about it like it's news. We all knew Tom Brady was going to come out like this. There's no question.
Oh, you knew
You can't have your integrity questioned like that, and you're not going to do anything.
Guilty.
Of course he's going to come at them. Robert Kraft.
You don't want to sue
he's
people
going
when
to come
you're
at
guilty.
them.
The truth will come out.
Really?
Yes.
In what world have you been living in? There's plenty. How many incidents? Skip, you have reported for decades dudes standing up firm and defiant, and they were lying through their teeth. What are you talking about? That's
Not Tom
it's almost
Brady.
like the American way.
No, you can't
not
get away
Tom
with it.
Brady.
No.
See what I'm saying?
You can't re-risk your reputation. He's really going to go down in flames if he lost a lawsuit. Hey, trust me, he's putting everything on the line.
Really go down in flames? How can he go any lower? He's been labeled a cheater and a liar. How can you go any lower?
He is going to make you eat your words. That's his goal in life right now, to make you eat your words.
Stephen A.
Yes, Stephen A. Smith will eat his words.
Skip. There is nothing on this planet Earth that Tom Brady can say to convince me of his words,
there you go,
that he knew nothing about deflated footballs. I don't think this is that big of a deal. I personally believed it was much ado about nothing. But you cannot convince me that the quarterback didn't know that the footballs were deflated. And it may not have been deflated above the look. I get all of that. He said, I don't know what y'all talking about. Had he said, sure, the footballs are deflated.
I'm going to ask you this one
That's
last
the way
time.
I like it.
Last time.
It's not a big deal.
It's not possible in your eyes that Tom Brady simply told his equipment people, I like them on the lower end of regulation. And that's the last thing he said to anybody.
And I specifically told you for the 5th time. I agree with that. How many times do I have to repeat? I get that.
So he's not a cheater.
With it.
Oh.
I agree.
He's exonerated.
No, what I'm saying... Forget it. You're not listening. Because it's Tom Brady. So you can't hear. Because it's Tom Brady.
Yikes.
If this was anybody else, you listen. But because it's Tom Brady, you can't hear me.
You're being objective.
5 times I have said to you in the past week, I totally agree that's possible. But that's not what he said when he had his press conference.
Who
I don't know
cares
what
what
you're
he
talking
said?
about. That's where he lost me. That's where he lost me.
He was talking in court under
But
oath.
you said me.
Under
you said
oath.
me. You said, again, you don't want to listen? You said me. I will eat my words. And my words are not about the report. It's about Tom Brady saying, oh, I know nothing I don't know about the footballs being deflated. I don't know what you're talking about. Felt fine to me. That's my issue with him. That he acted as if he knew nothing. He acted as if he knew that the footballs weren't even deflated. That is what I don't believe. I don't believe the suspension. I don't care about all of this.
Now you're
Bring
trying
him
to
back
escape
on.
on a
Let him
technicality.
let him defend his Super Bowl crown. But don't tell me that the footballs were deflated and you had no clue that the footballs were deflated. I don't believe that. There is nothing that the report, there is nothing that a lawsuit, there is nothing that a press conference or anybody else can say that's going to convince me he did not know the footballs
Okay, we got
were deflated.
semantics going on here.
That's all.
You inflate them to the lower level of regulation, or you take a needle and you let air out of them and deflate them to under regulation. So all I'm saying is, he just said once about, like maybe when he was a rookie, maybe in 2001, he said, I just like them at the lower end of regulation. So they pump them up to right there. That's okay.
And I'm saying he never said that when I watched him speak on the issue. He said, I don't know what y'all talking about. That is what I don't believe. That's it. That's all I'm saying. So I'm not going to eat my words because that's what I have a problem with Tom Brady.
Do you believe he's innocent as charged? Do you think that he oversaw the deflating of footballs to under regulation limits?
I don't know that. I just know that he knew that the footballs were somewhat deflated and he tried to act like he didn't know anything. That's my issue with him. Period.
Somewhat deflated or inflated to the low end of regulation.
You be technical all you want to because that's your boy and you want to defend him. I'm telling you, I don't believe him because of what I heard him say. That's it.
Gentlemen, let's move on, shall we? Roger Goodell will hear the case within 10 days. Tom Brady again appealing his 4-game suspension. Up next, Clippers lose a closeout game at home. So can they go on the road and win? Can they recover? That's the conversation after the break. Stick around. You don't want to miss it.
The business. To the people who throw it out.
To levels in violation of league rules. The report simply speculates that all the selected texts had to do with improper football deflation after the referee's inspection, although not a single text mentions any such thing. After the NFLPA announced their appeal of Tom Brady's 4-game suspension yesterday, we found out that Roger Goodell will oversee the appeal. Stephen A.
You know, the thing that I find interesting, whether it's Skip or all of these Tom Brady supporters, is, you know, they keep focusing on he is not going for it. He'll fight to the death and blah, blah. Oh, stop, please. Tom Brady's going to fight the fight. In the end, if he has no choice but to stomach a 2-game suspension, what the hell is he going to do? Retire? He ain't going nowhere.
Hey, it's a revisit, a topic that we talked about earlier today. How do you see this all playing out?
Well, I see a potential reduction in games. That adds a possibility. It'll either stay at 4 or it'll go at 2. I don't see a complete eradication of the 4-game suspension that Tom Brady had handed down to him. He's going to be back playing next season. And whether it's a 4-game suspension, a 2-game suspension, or a 0-game suspension, he is going to sit there and have to accept whatever the ruling is in the end. And unless he retires, which we all know he's not going to do at this juncture, he'll be back. It's not like he's going to sit there and say, well, they say it's going to be 2 games instead of 4. He's going to say, no, I'm not.
A point-by-point rebuttal of the Wells report. And the key conclusion from the rebuttal reads as follows. This conclusion ignores the scientific explanation for the drop in PSI, ignores obvious issues concerning gauge inconsistency, and is based on adverse inferences from circumstantial evidence, primarily text sent in October after the Patriots-Jets game, at which footballs were seriously overinflated by the game officials.